the franchise mindset, right? So how to hit franchise. So backstory on me, who's GP, how long have I been doing this? I've been selling solar for about a decade. I have over 800 career installs. I've hit 6-star recruiter for many quarters, probably 2 years in a row. I have the record for most installs in a quarter. I have close to 900 installs just at Sunrun. And I feel like I can give you guys the most value on how to hit franchise. So in Boston West, this quarter, we actually have 3 sales reps that are going to hit franchise this quarter. 2 already hit it, and 1 actually hit it today. And I'm actually here in the office with a squad of reps here. And let me see if I can move my camera so you guys can see right here. So it's Don Nguyen. Clap it up. All right. And that's Josh Madden as well. He didn't cut his hair.
Oh, he didn't.
So
okay.
We had 3 reps hit
this,
franchise.
Way,
I
GP.
hit franchise myself, and I'm going to hit franchise every quarter as long as I'm here. So I know what it takes to hit franchise. And if you want to hit franchise, it's going to start with why do you want to hit franchise, right? What's the reason, right? We all have our own personal reasons as to why we want to do something. So if you want to embark on this journey on how to do something great, it always starts with why, right? So just to give you some stats, there's roughly 2,000 street reps, and I feel like 0.01% of those street reps ever hit franchise even one time, right? So last quarter, I believe we had less than 20 people hit it out of 2,000 reps, right? So it's a very tough thing to hit. If it was easy, everyone would hit it. So my reason was, obviously, I wanted financial freedom. And also for me, it wasn't just about hitting franchise. It was about just being the best version of myself, right? So to me, franchise isn't a number. It's what's the best that I can do, right? So that was a big part of it. So I want you guys to write down, if you want to embark on this journey, what's the reason why you want to actually do this, right? We all have our own reasons why we want to do something, and that's the first step for you guys. All right, so let's get into the training. I'm going to give you guys a ton of nuggets on how to get this done. I'm going to give you the exact recipe. All right, the first point is commit publicly, right? So we actually have a group of people here. You guys already seen them. So everyone here is committing to hitting franchise, right? Or doing the best that they can do, right? So that's the first thing. If you're going to do something, hold yourself accountable by having other people see you commit to it, right? Because I feel that's important, because if you just have a goal and you don't tell anyone, you're just giving yourself like permission to fail, right? It's easier to fail because no one sees it and it's just you, right? So I feel like that just adds extra pressure, and more than likely you're going to raise your bar, right? That way, if you tell other people. And then you have to create a plan, right? What's your actual plan? How are you going to execute it? I feel like 99% of reps, they just wing things, right? For example, at the end of the quarter, most people just end up on a number and they don't know how they got to that number, right? So if I ask a rep, hey, how did you finish at 8 installs? They'll never be able to tell me how many doors they hit, how many conversations, how many hours, what was their schedule, right? What was their conversion rate? They just wing it all the way through, right? Franchise is extremely difficult, and it's not something you can typically wing your way through, right? You're actually going to need metrics, right? So you need a plan. If you don't have a plan, it's just a wish, right? If you want to say you want to hit franchise, if you don't have any measures behind it, it's just a wish. So if you want to make it a reality, it starts with a plan. You have to write it down, right? You have to have a goal. The next step is preparation, right? Write everything down, right? Be very precise. I'm going to work, Monday through Saturday. I'll have one day off, right? I'll work 4 hours, whatever your schedule may be. You want to be as concise as possible, okay? You want to write down everything, and you want to hold yourself accountable, and you also want someone else to hold you accountable as well, right? So write it down, have clarity, and you're more likely to hit your goal. And not just writing it down, but actually track how close are you to hit it, right? If you just write it down, if you have all of these metrics and you're not tracking like how quick you're hitting your metrics, or if you even hitting your metrics, then your plan is just going to fail, right? So you actually have to make sure you write it down and then track it, right? So that can be notes, that can be a counter app, that can be doors, whatever it is, you need to track your metrics and that you're actually doing it. I love to say, if you're not tracking, you're slacking. All right. And the next thing, this is a mindset piece, and I love it because it's the reality of the world, right? So no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to lift you up and force you to hit franchise, right? No one's going to care as much as you care. And you have to be your best advocate, right? And what this is about is it's about accountability, right? No one cares about your backstory until you win, right? So you have to hold yourself accountable. No one's going to want franchise for you more than you, right? So you need to understand that, and you need to be self-motivated, right? You can't rely on a manager. You can't rely on any outside forces to lift you up and force you to a goal, right? So hitting franchise is a lonely road. You guys know the stats, right? 20 out of 2,000 people actually hit this even one time, right? So you need to understand that you're going to have to be self-motivated, okay? The next thing is stick to one zip code. So again, 3 people in Boston West hit franchise this quarter. I think it's the most reps I've ever seen hit franchise in a quarter that are non-managers since the merger. I can't think of, a time where that's been done before. But one of the reps, Steve Strivolati, when he was asked, like, what was the number one reason, that made you hit franchise? What do you attribute it to? And the first thing he said was, I just took your advice and I just stuck to one zip code, right? I've been preaching this almost every single training that I've been giving you guys, because it's literally the number one reason why I was able to hit my goal of franchise. And that's why I continue to hit it, right? I've been working in the same zip code for about 90% of the time I've been in solar, right? And in that one zip code, I have nearly 800 installs just in that one zip code. So what that means is you become highly efficient, right? So when you have all of your business in one area, what that means is your ratios are going to be a lot better, right? So when I create an account, there's an 80 to 90% chance it goes to install. And the reason for that is I've been in the same area and I have all of the data, right? I have the social proof. I have people vouching for me, right? I also know which doors to knock because, I've knocked all the assholes already, right? And they're marked off my list. So when I go out and knock a door, I'm more likely to get a yes than someone who's just starting in my turf, last week, right? So it makes you extremely efficient and you actually get more money for the hours worked. So that's what it's about, right? If you keep switching zip codes, if you keep switching turf and you say, hey, I want an easier turf, guess what? There's no easy turf. Every turf has been knocked. The only difference is your efficiency, right? There's going to be challenges in every turf, right? There's always a fallacy that I'm going to go somewhere else and I'm going to be more successful, right? For example, if you work in the hood, you're going to have an issue of people failing credit, right? So that's an issue you're going to have to overcome. And then on top of that, there's 1,000 people in your turf with the same mindset, right? You go to the rich hood, credit isn't an issue, but it's going to be a lot harder to get into the doors, right? It's going to be longer driveways. You're going to have a whole set of challenges. So my point is there's no easy road, but you have to choose one road, stick to it, and the efficiency will come and that'll make your hours worth more money. So that was actually my number one advice for everyone. And that's how I've, gotten to where I am today, is because I've stuck to one area and I just built a massive empire of solar everywhere, right? Here's the next thing. It's pretty simple. It's pay your referrals, right? I know it sounds so simple and common sense, but I've seen a lot of reps just have a short-term mindset where, once the customer is installed, they don't want to hear from them again, right? Yeah, you might make an extra $1,000, right? But long term, you're shooting yourself in the foot because an unhappy customer will tell 10 people that they've had a bad experience, right? So, and then you're probably not going to be able to go back to that area and you're going to lose referrals, right? It's tough to compute the amount of business that you can lose by just not treating one customer right. So always pay your referrals. Even if you're losing money on the deal, there's something called karma, and what goes around comes around, right? So if you say you're going to give someone $500 for referral, even if you're not making $500 on that deal, you better pay that $500, right? Because what happens a lot of times is homeowners, they actually save their referrals until after they're installed, until after you fulfill your promises. So you might actually lose 10 deals, right? Or even more if you don't give that $1,000 and make the customer happy, right? So a big part of my efficiency is half of my business is from referrals, right? And I'm only able to get those referrals is if I keep my word to my customer, right? It's not about just paying the referrals. But for example, if I say you're going to get a new roof and the cap comes back and it says no roof is needed, I'm still going to give you a roof because that's what we agreed on in the house, right? Same thing with tree work, electrical. You know, once we come to an agreement, the word is your bond, and you have to make sure you fulfill any promises, especially paying referrals. The next thing here is the environment you're in is literally 50% of the battle to hitting franchise, right? So the environment is mainly your home environment, right? And the people around you. Is your home environment set up for you to win, right? Because if you're not in the environment to win, you're going to have an uphill battle that you most likely won't win, right? It's so crazy. Half of the battle is, you know, your work ethic, your will, you actually being out there. And the other half is what's your environment look like, right? When you go home, is it toxic, right? Do you have your spouse on your side? Are you aligned, right, with the same mission, right? So being in the right environment for success is literally half of the battle, all right? The next thing here is 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions, right? So I'm going to give you guys an exercise to do. So what to do is the day before, right? Let's say you're going to knock tomorrow, write down your 10 priorities for tomorrow. This is something I do every single day. I write down 10 things I need to do that are important. And what I do is I eliminate the bottom 8 and I only do the top 2 tasks that will give me the highest return on my time, right? We're all human beings. We have a limited bandwidth. We can't do everything at once. So you have to choose only a few things that will give you the best return on your time, right? So whether that's knocking doors, doing account work, you have to prioritize a task that you need to get done. And it's about being very efficient, right? So out of those 10 tasks, you're going to star 2 tasks, 2, maybe 3, and you're going to do those 3 tasks no matter what. And if you have time and you have bandwidth after that, then, you know, you can work down the list, right? But typically the way that my day looks like is I have a ton of things I need to do, but I'm only going to do the 2 or 3 things that will give me the best return on my time, right? The next thing is stay current on industry news. Why is this important to hitting franchise? You're going to have to sell to customers that do their research, right? You're going to have to know what you're talking about. If you're not competent, then that's when you get all of the objections, like I'm all set. That's when you get ghosted by customers because they don't trust you, right? So you have to stay current on your industry knowledge. I feel like that's been one of my superpowers. When people call me, I know just about everything there is to know about solar. And that's not by accident, right? That's because I intentionally research my industry. I research what's going on and I make sure that I have the most current knowledge, right? So our industry changes so much that you have to stay current on technology and what's going on, right? And we have a platform called Currents, right? It's on Okta, and it literally tells you what's going on in this industry, what's going on with Sunrun, what's changing. And it boggles my mind that most people don't use this resource, right? So I would say starting today, if you haven't already, open up Currents and just browse through it and look through it, right? There's a ton of good knowledge on there. Our company's been spending millions of dollars developing this for you guys, and just use the tools we have, right? So staying current on what's going on in the industry, what's going on in your town, right? What's going on with solar panels, what's going on with tax credits, all of those things you need to know, right? The next thing is inspect your relationship with rejection. So having a goal of franchise is different from like having a goal of 5. What's going to happen is you're going to get more rejection than you've ever dealt with in your life. And you need to have a plan for this before you actually get the objections, right? Before you get the rejection. So you need to make these decisions like in advance before you go on a goal like this, say franchise. You're going to have thousands of people potentially saying no to you, and you already need to know what your mindset is going to be like, right? I can promise you, you're going to get a ton of cancels. You're going to get a ton of rejection. When I hit 74 installs 2 years ago in 1 quarter, I literally had a cancel every single day of the week, including Sunday, right? When I woke up in the morning, I would get a cancellation email or text, right? That was every single day, right? You have to make sure you're mentally prepared for that, right? And you need to make the decision that I'm going to go through all of those rejections. I'm going to get it. That's just part of the game. And I'm going to get these cancellations all throughout the quarter, right? And I will have cancels on day of install too. Like that stuff happens. And you need to know how you're going to deal with that mentally, right? That's a big part of it. Inspect your relationship with money as well, okay? So understanding how you're going to invest your money, how you're going to use your money is important to hitting franchise for a lot of reasons, right? If you're stressed out about money, if money is your only motive, sometimes that can cloud your judgment. Sometimes you can make bad decisions on the doors, right? For example, if you need this one install to pay your rent, right, your actions are going to be a lot different, right? So be smart with your money. Otherwise, that can impact your performance on the doors, right? So that means investing your money properly, not spending money on flashy cars, right? Doing things like that. You want to make sure that you're safe with money and you're doing the right things with it. I've seen so many reps come in, their first quarter, they make, let's call it $100,000, and then it's gone the following quarter, right? They're living paycheck to paycheck, right? They're at the casino all the time. They're spending their money. And I promise you, you're not going to be consistent in your performance if you don't have a good relationship with money. The next thing is exercise every single day. All right. I work out 7 days a week, no rest days. And it's not because of, just getting big or getting strong. I actually exercise every single day for the mental benefits that it provides. Okay. I feel like you're not going to be able to succeed in life if you don't have the energy levels required to complete tasks, right? So working out for me has been a big mental game changer, mainly because of energy, right? So when I work out every single day, I feel like I get mental clarity, and it also makes me start my day off with a win, right? And health is actually more important than money, because if you don't have health, then the money doesn't matter, right? So always make sure you're keeping up with your health. Exercise, for me, I feel like has been one of the biggest pillars. So you want to make sure that you have a routine for that. And oddly enough, like if you do research on all of the top CEOs, like in America, of S&P 500 companies, if you actually read their biographies or see how they've, achieved their status, they actually have workout regimens, right? They do workouts before they hop on conference calls. It's a big part of their life, right? So exercise is extremely important. The next thing is account progression every single day. All right. Progress your accounts every day. And the reason for that is you want to obey the golden rule of speed. Okay. Speed is everything in this job. You have to be quick to convert these accounts from SRA to install. The more time that you have in between, the lower your conversion rates will be. You can have someone who's super stoked about solar. You did a perfect job, but if you take a couple of weeks to get back to that customer, or you drop the ball and, instead of it getting installed in a month, it gets installed in 3 months, there's a likelihood that they talk to a friend, they talk to a neighbor, and you lose the deal, right? So you want to make sure that you're on top of your account progression every single day. When you get a cat back, get it closed that day, right? When you have appointments, don't set the appointment for next week. Set it for tomorrow. Set it for 2 hours, right? When you let things linger, there's a high likelihood that these accounts don't convert. So speed wins. And be a fountain, not a drain, right? For the office and for the people around you in general, right? This is karma. If you're always involved in drama, if you're not a nice person, then people won't root for you to win, right? And you're not going to have, good people around you if you're, consistently taking the energy of others off around you, right? I'll give an example, right? If there's a rep that always has issues, is always negative, and then there's rep B that's always positive, always optimistic, I'm probably going to be more likely to pick up the phone calls from the optimistic person than the negative person, right? So just think about that in general, right? You want to be a fountain, not a drain, because you're going to get more help, you're going to get more support that way if you're bringing up the energy versus bringing down the energy of the office and those around you. Reinvent yourself every single quarter. This is so key, guys. I've been selling solar for a decade, and I feel like every single 3 months, we work a completely different job. There's always new challenges. There's always new ways of growing business. There was a point in time where we had to sell loan, right? The company was highly incentivizing loan, right? Then we switched back to PPAs, right? There was a time where customers were only saving a penny, right? There was times for, a lot of things changing. We had times where it was a 3-month conversion rate, right? From SRA to install. We've had times where it was 2 weeks, right? There's things that change, and you always have to reinvent yourself, and you always have to be picking up new skills along the way. Because if you think what worked last quarter worked this quarter, it's probably not the case, right? You always have to reinvent yourself and get more skills. Stay current. Conviction must be practiced daily. All right. What I mean by conviction is you need to understand, why are you working for Sunrun, right? Why here? Why now? Why not be at a dealer instead, right? What's the reason why you chose Sunrun, right? You need to practice your conviction, right? Sunrun is the largest solar company in the US. We are growing faster than all the other solar companies, right? We are larger than the bottom 2 companies underneath us combined, right? We have the most installs, right? We have the most customers. We have the most reps making the most money. These are all facts, right? So you need to understand why you're here, and you need to be fully bought in, right? It's either you're all in or you're all out. If you have a goal of hitting something crazy like franchise, then you need to be fully convicted every single day as to why you're doing this job, right? The next thing is your income will never exceed your personal development, okay? So my routine, guys, is I'm reading, I'm listening to audiobooks. I feel like 4 to 6 hours every single day. My drive time at night, I'm always learning. I'm always picking up new tricks. I'm always picking up new skills, right? About finance, about solar, about philosophy, about everything in general. I don't know anyone who's rich. I don't know anyone who's been doing great things in their life that aren't consistently developing, right? Shout out to Don Gomez for that because that's his quote. Your income will never exceed your personal development. That's a key rule. How are you comparing yourself to? This is a big one as well, guys. Every quarter that I've hit franchise, it was not because of the number. It was because I wanted to be the best version of myself, right? Sometimes you can get a ton of anxiety when you look at the Telegram, you see people throwing up 4, 5, 6 SRAs, and you're at a bagel, and you're like, I completely suck. How come I don't have 6 like this person, right? Never compare yourself to anyone else except the person that you can be, right? Comparison is the thief of all joy, and that's an absolute, right? So you want to make sure that you're comparing yourself to who you can be, right? So when I hit 74 installs, it wasn't about hitting franchise, right? Otherwise, I would have just stopped at 25 and just sandbagged for the following 3 quarters, right? So it was all about what can I actually do, right? The person that I was competing with was the best version of GP. I wasn't looking at the Telegram and it's like, how come this guy has 6 SRAs? I only have 5. It was about if I put in my maximum effort, what can I actually achieve, right? And when I say maximum effort, it's me actually putting in the maximum effort that I thought was possible, right? And this is a funny one. Treat others like you want to be treated. I literally learned this in kindergarten, and it actually still applies to today, right? In my adult life. And it's probably the greatest thing I've ever learned in school because you want to have respect for people. That goes back to a previous point that I said. If you promise someone something, if you're in a homeowner's house and you say you're going to do something, you have to fulfill that promise. I feel like that one rule has served me so well in my career that I don't have to change my phone number. I've had the same phone number, since I was 18 years old. When people call me, it's not about, hey, you lied to me. It's they're calling me to give me referrals, right? So you want to treat people like you want to be treated. If you're in someone's house and you look them in the eye and you say, yes, this is going to be a rate. Yes, you're going to save money. Yes, I'm going to give you $1,000 referral. Yes, we're going to do your roof, right? Actually fulfill those promises. Whether, it hurts you or not, when you say something, you have to, fulfill that always. And this is one of the biggest points as well. Franchise is about elimination, not addition. Okay. So hitting something that difficult, you're going to have to look at the things that you're already doing and eliminate those and double down on the tasks that'll get you there, right? So it's not about how many routines can you add in the morning, right? How many things you can do. It's how many things can you undo, right? For example, if you always watch Netflix an hour at night, that's something you can eliminate, right? You're always on Instagram 2 hours a day, that's something you can eliminate, right? So it's a process of elimination, not addition, right? The quarter that I hit, 74 installs, I didn't have anything other than knocking doors, right? I didn't do anything else. It was just knocking doors every single day, 7 days a week, no other routines, nothing else, just single focused on that one goal, right? So I didn't add anything else to my routine. I just doubled down on my highest priority and I just did, a few things really well. All right, and I'm going to leave you guys with this quote here. And it perfectly portrays what it means to hit franchise. Winning is not loyal to you. What that means is hitting franchise is not loyal to you. Nobody cares what you did last quarter, right? You need to earn your job. You need to earn franchise every single quarter, right? There's a ton of people quit franchise one time and they've never hit it again. And no one cares, right? We only care if you can hit it multiple times. You're not entitled to franchise. You have to earn it every single quarter. Winning requires all of you and then some. Okay. So you're going to have to give 110%. If you're not fully committed, then don't even attempt to do it, right? Because it's going to take all of you and then 110% on top of that. And then winning promises you nothing, right? I've seen this many times where people have had the perfect schedule and they've come up short an install, right? They've done 24 installs, right? So this happens, right? Winning promises you nothing, but it's worth it, right? It's worth pushing to win. So you're not guaranteed to win, right? The question is, are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? So what that means is you have to keep your foot on the gas. You have to always give your full effort, right? And there's really no finish line, right? You have to always work. You always have to put 110%, even when no one else is looking. And that's what I got for you guys. Appreciate your time. Let's get out there and let's crush it.
GP, I love that. Can you hear me, by the way?